All right, Sergeant Rossi, would you come over here, stand by the court reporter, please? Ms. Robertson.
Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you may give in the cause now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please have a seat in the witness stand and state and spell your first and last names for the record.
D-A-V-I-D-R-O-S-S-I.
Ms. Clark.
Thank you, sir. Sergeant Rossi, can you please tell us what you do for a living?
I am a sergeant with the Los Angeles Police Department, presently assigned to West Los Angeles Division.
And how long have you been at that assignment?
I have worked West Los Angeles for just about 5 years.
How long have you been a police officer?
It'll be 26 years in May, this coming May.
26. How long have you been a sergeant, sir?
I made sergeant in November of 1979, so I think that makes it pretty close to 15 years.
You said you are currently assigned as a watch commander?
I'm currently assigned as the morning assistant watch commander. We refer to that as an AWC. My duties are the same as a lieutenant watch commander when the lieutenant is off. And when he's on, and if we're both working, if I'm not off, then I assist him or her.
What do you do? What does a watch commander do?
Watch commander oversees the activities of all of the police officers and field sergeants on the watch or shift. The watch commander approves all bookings of the police officers. Occasionally I'll approve bookings for the California High Patrol officers that use our facility. I review and approve all arrest reports and crime reports. And in addition to handling usually a mountain of unrelated administrative paperwork, I respond to the field for various reasons.
Now, under what conditions would you respond to the field?
I'll go out in the field if an officer or a sergeant requests my presence on a particular situation, and then there are some incidences that occur that the department mandates that I respond to, and generally violent crimes, and of course any kind of homicide I have to respond to.
In any kind of homicide?
Yes, ma'am.
And what are you supposed to do? What are your duties with respect to, for example, a homicide scene that you respond to?
My job is to go out to the scene and to ensure that the scene is properly secured and any obvious evidence is protected until the investigators get there. Prior to leaving to go out in the field, there are certain notifications that I have to make to the detectives and to my command staff.
And why is that? Why do you have to make those notifications before you leave the station to your command staff and officers?
And to detectives?
Yeah, and to detectives.
Well, I generally will make the notifications to detectives first because I need to get them rolling. They are the officers that will ultimately handle the investigation. And then I will go ahead and make the various command staff notifications because our command staff needs to know what's going on, especially when the homicide cases.
Okay. And by command staff, you mean the people above you?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, directing your attention, sir, to the date of June the 12th, 1994, as of that date, were you assigned as the assistant watch commander at the West LA station?
Yes, I was on morning watch.
Do you recall getting a call from Officer Robert Risky?
Yes, actually, I was assigned as the watch commander that night because the lieutenant was off, so I was sitting in as the watch commander. Yes, I did receive a call from Officer Risky.
Remember what time it was that you got that call from him?
I believe it was somewhere around 12:30, 12:35 in the morning.
Sir, is your memory fresh with regard to what time you got the call from Officer Risky?
It's not real fresh, no. I haven't looked at anything since then. However, it seems like it was something after midnight.
Shortly after midnight?
Yes.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Sir, would it refresh your recollection if I showed you a copy of the crime scene log as to what time you were called?
Objection, Your Honor. He hasn't said it's a recollection of Ben Ross.
He, I think, was his last answer exactly was.
No,
Yeah,
his last
okay.
answer, he says shortly after midnight, yes. First call. Crime scene log is when they got there.
He also testified, Your Honor, that he thought it was around 12:30. And then, shall I have his answers right back, right?
No, I've just read them myself.
Ah. And I asked if his memory was fresh with respect to when he got the call, and he said it's not real fresh, no.
All right, proceed.
I haven't looked at anything since then. Would it assist you to refresh your recollection, sir, if I were to show you the crime scene log?
Yes, it would.
Thank you. You're familiar with how these are prepared, are you not, sir?
Yes, I am.
Showing you the log with the entry of Officer Risky for his time of arrival.
It shows Officer Risky arrived.
No, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sergeant, would you just read that to yourself and see if that refreshes your recollection?
Yes, somewhat, yes.
And having seen that crime scene log, sir, your memory somewhat refreshed as to when you got the call from Officer Risky.
Yes.
And what is your estimate of the time you got that call, sir?
Around 12:00:25, 25 minutes after 12.
Your Honor, I object. If he's reading from a piece of paper. and
Yes, will you take that away, please, Ms. Clark?
It doesn't appear that he's doing that at all, as a matter of fact, when he testified. Let me point something out to you, sir. Do you see the time of arrival
Yes,
for Officer Risky there?
20 minutes after 12.
And that helps you, sir, to assist, to refresh your memories to when you got the call.
Objection, leading. Sustained.
It's foundational, he's already said that.
Sustained. You can ask it in a non-leading way.
How does that refresh your recollection with respect to when you got the call from him?
Well, I'm just, I'm figuring if Officer Risky arrived at 20 minutes after 12, he phoned me shortly thereafter.
Thank you. And what did Officer Risky give you some information with respect to what he was there, what was he was at the scene for?
Officer Risky told me that he was on the scene of a double homicide.
And did he give you a location?
Yes, he gave me the address,
And what was that?
875 South Bundy.
And did he tell you, and did he give you any information about the scene as he found it at that time?
He told me that there was a female and a male victim outside of the location. He told me it was a condominium. And he told me that the door was open to the condominium, the front door. And he said he had not cleared the house yet, and he didn't know what he had in the house.
What does that mean, had not cleared the house yet?
That means that it's unknown what has taken place, if anything, inside the house, that there may be other victims in the house because this was such a violent crime, or suspects. And so it was imperative that he go through the house and make sure that everything was okay in that respect.
And did you give him some instructions, sir?
Yes, I did. I told him to. First, I asked him if he had requested a supervisor, and he said that he had. And then I told him, okay, go ahead and check the house and make sure that there are no more victims, and tell the responding supervisor to call me back as soon as he could.
Did you get another call then from someone at the scene?
Yes, shortly thereafter, I received a telephone call from Sergeant Marty Kuhn.
And did he give you some information as well?
He told me that he had received information from Officer Risky that they had cleared the house, that they had found 2 young children in the house, and that he had a unit en route to the location to take the children into protective custody and transport them to West Los Angeles Division.
This be a good time.
Ms. Clark?
Yes. I'm assuming the court wants to take a noon break. I'm going to move into a different area at this point.
All
Do you
right.
want me-
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our recess for the noon hour at this time. Please remember my admonitions to you. Don't discuss the case amongst yourselves. Don't form any opinions about the case. Don't let anybody contact or communicate with you. Do not conduct any deliberations on the matter until it has been submitted to you. We'll see you back here at 1:30. Sergeant Rossi, you may step down. You're ordered to be returned here at 1:30. All right, we'll stand in recess, 1:30. Awesome. On the record in the Simpson matter, all parties are again present. All right, counsel, anything we need to take up before we invite the jurors to join us? All right, Deputy McNair, let's have the jury, please. All right, Sergeant Rossi, would you resume the witness stand, please? All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Records reflect we've been joined by all the members of our jury. Ms. Clark, you may continue your direct examination.
Good afternoon. I think where we left off, sir, you indicated that you got a call from Sergeant Marty Kuhn who told you about a double homicide.
Yes, I did.
And did he indicate anything else to you about the nature of that case?
He confirmed what Officer Risky had said about a male and a female victim. And he had told me, he told me at that point that the house had been cleared and that there were no more victims in the house.
Okay. Did he indicate anything to you with respect to what the possible identity of one of the victims might be?
He told me that he was pretty sure that the female victim was Nicole Simpson.
But did he know for sure at that point?
He didn't know for sure. He thought there was a pretty good chance that's who it was. He was told by one of the officers, I don't know who it was, that Nicole Simpson did live at that location.
Was there any indication as to the possible identity of the male victim?
No.
Did you give him some instruction at that point?
I asked him if the crime scene had been secured, and he indicated that it had. And I told him that I would respond from the police station as soon as I could, that I had notifications to make, telephonic notifications.
And did you make those notifications?
Yes, I did.
Who did you notify?
I made 6 telephonic notifications to detectives and my command staff. The first telephone call I made was to Detective Frank Spangler, who is the commanding officer of West Los Angeles Detectives.
The lieutenant?
Lieutenant, yes, ma'am. There was no one home there, however, I did get an answering machine, and I left a message on the machine.
Okay. Now, is he of higher rank than the detectives?
Yes, he is.
And who else did you call?
I then called Detective Ron Phillips. He was home, and I told him what we had and the location. And he indicated to me that he would be responding very shortly thereafter, and that he would pick up or at least meet Detective Mark Furman, that I did not have to call him.
Okay. And who else did you call?
I then called West LA Area Commanding Officer Bob Kurth,
And what's his rank?
Captain.
Okay. Is that above a lieutenant?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Who else did you call?
I then notified Deputy Chief Ron Frankel, who is the commanding officer of Operations West Bureau.
And is he above or below Captain Kurth?
He is
in terms
above
of rank?
He is above Captain Kurth.
And who else did you call?
And then I phoned the Assistant Commanding Officer of Operations West Bureau, who is Commander Bushy, who is just under Deputy Chief Frankel.
Now, Deputy Chief Ron Frankel and Commander Bushy then both outrank Lieutenant Spangler,
That's correct?
and then obviously they outrank all the detectives as well.
Yes, they do.
And who else did you call?
The last phone call I made was to the West LA Patrol Captain, Constant Dial.
Connie?
Connie Dial, yes.
Is it common to make all those notifications whenever you get a homicide?
It's common to make the notifications to the detectives and to the command staff of the West LA, of your area and division. As far as the Operations West Bureau command staff, Deputy Chief Frankel and Bushy, I was told to make those notifications by Captain Kurth
Why?
because of the possible notoriety of this particular incident.
And after you made those notifications, what did you do?
I then was informed by my desk officer that there had been some witnesses from the location transported to West Los Angeles Police Station, and that the 2 children had arrived. I was told that the witnesses, other than the children, were upstairs and detectives, and that there was an officer with them. And I was informed that the 2 children were in our conference room. So I went over and I looked in the conference room, and I saw the 2 children in there with one of my officers. And I made sure that they were okay. I didn't speak with them at that time, but they seemed to be okay.
And then you left?
Yes, then I informed the desk that I was going to be en route to the location on Bundy, and we checked out a police car, and I was driven to the location by a sergeant that had been in the station with me by the name of Sergeant Kurt Hussey.
How do you spell this?
Hussey.
What time was it when you got to the scene at 875 South Bundy, sir?
I believe I arrived at the scene very close to 0130 hours, 1:30 in the morning, between, I think it was right about 1:30, yes.
And where did you park?
The police vehicle that I was in was parked at the intersection of Bundy and Dorothy. I exited the vehicle and I was approached by Sergeant Marty Kuhn and Officer Risky.
And they approached you on foot?
Yes, they did.
Where?
Beg your pardon?
Where was that? They approached you?
That was right there at the intersection, close to the intersection of Bundy and Dorothy.
Okay. What was the first thing you did when you got there?
The first thing I did was take a look at the front of the crime scene area to make sure that it was secured, and I saw that the police vehicle was parked at Dorothy and Bundy. I saw a police vehicle was parked at Gorham and Bundy, so as to not allow any type of vehicular or pedestrian traffic to come through those areas. I asked Sergeant Marty Kuhn if the back had been secured, and he said yes, it was secured the same way the front was at the alleyway, again at Dorothy and north to Gorham. I saw that the front had been also secured by yellow police banner tape, and that appeared to be proper to me. I asked him if there was any in the rear, and he indicated that there was, blocking off the thoroughfare of the alleyway. At that point, I made a determination that the crime scene was properly secured, and I asked Sergeant Kuhn and Officer Risky to escort me up to where they had indicated that the victims were.
Now, is that part of your duty, sir, when you respond to a homicide scene, to make sure that the crime scene is properly secured, the tape where it needs to be?
Yes, that's my primary duty.
And in that connection, sir, is it your duty also to make sure that the perimeter, that is where the crime scene tape is put up, is in the proper location?
That's correct.
What's important about that?
The fact that we are able to keep that crime scene as secure as possible until detectives get there.
Is it important that you make sure that a certain area around the crime scene itself is cordoned off?
That's correct. That's what we did. We cordoned off the entire crime scene.
Was the traffic on Bundy blocked?
Yes, it was.
Did you happen to notice any animals when you got there?
Yes, when I first arrived, there was a male Caucasian holding a white Akita on a leash, and he and the dog were right there at the intersection of Bundy and Dorothy.
Okay. It's from P40, Your Honor.
P40A.
Thank you. Okay, are you able to see that?
Yes, I am.
And do you recognize the dog shown in this photograph, sir?
Yes, that appears to be the dog that was there when I arrived.
At 875 South Bundy. He was at the intersection
That's correct.
of Bundy and Dorothy. Is that yes?
Yes, that's correct.
P51, Your Honor.
See that, sir?
Yes, I do.
Do you recognize what's depicted there?
Yes, that's the intersection of Dorothy and Bundy.
And you see the yellow tape that goes across, I guess, is it Bundy that is going across there?
That's correct, going across Bundy.
And is that the crime scene tape as you found it when you came to the scene at approximately 1:30 a.m.?
Yes.
P46. You should cut the feed for this photo.
Do you recognize what's shown there, sir?
Yes, I do.
And is that, can you tell us what that is?
That's the police banner tape stretching in front of the Bundy location.
And is that how you found it when you arrived at the scene at 1:30 a.m.?
Yes, that's how it was.
Next.
P38, Your Honor.
Do you recognize what's shown in this photograph, sir?
That appears to be the rear of the condominium, the alleyway.
And you see the crime scene tape in this photograph,
Yes, I do.
both in the foreground and in the background there?
Yes, I do.
And can you tell us if that's the manner in which you saw it taped off when you arrived at 1:30 a.m.?
Yes, that's how it was.
All right, now when you, after you met with the sergeant and with Officer Risky, what happened next? What did you do?
After I was convinced that the area was sealed properly, I then asked them to escort me up to the location so I could view the victims.
Yes, Your Honor, if you could cut the feed.
Yes.
P42, Your Honor.
No, back up.
This is P43B.
Do you recognize what's shown now, sir?
Yes, I do. That appears to be the walkway leading up to the front of the house.
And does it appear to be in the manner that you found it
Yes, it is.
at approximately 1:30 a.m.?
That's correct.
How is it that you approached up to the area of the mailbox?
The area of the what?
The mailbox in that photograph, if you can see. How did you do that?
I walked up the grassy part of the front, just to the left of where the victims are, and just to the left of where that box is.
Okay.
I walked up to the gate.
Can you look at your monitor, sir?
Pardon? Yeah.
You see the red arrow?
Yes.
Can you tell us where to put the red arrow that shows the pathway you took?
A little farther over to the left.
Okay.
A little farther over.
Okay.
Probably right around there.
All right. And then walked upward from
That's
there?
correct, yes.
And is that tracing your path?
Yes, it is.
And you took that path all the way up to?
Just about as far as I could go, which there was a fence there.
Up to that mailbox then, or where that actual call box is?
That call box, yes, ma'am.
How do you trace it up to the call box?
There's been no photography of any of these crime scenes where the victims depicted. Thank you.
And place the arrow by the call box? Great. And from that, shall we mark this and print it as, what's the original?
43B1.
43B1. This is getting complicated.
I can put the witnesses' initials on the photo. We're going to have to sort these all out later on.
Yes.
Yes, that's fine.
All right, would you put a DR up in the upper left-hand corner, please?
Thank you. Now, from that location, sir, was Officer Risky with you?
Yes, he was.
And did he have flashlight with him?
Yes, he did.
And did he point certain things out to you?
Yes, he did.
All right. What were you, can we cut this now?
Just a moment. Your Honor, if I may have a moment, the markings are not showing up on the print frame for the printer.
As long as we have a moment, I can put 43B1 right on the lower corner.
We're going to put it on the back of the photograph. Apparently it will not print the markings with the
Why
markings
is
on.
that?
Why is that?
Your Honor, at this point in time, I'm not sure. The markings are not showing up on the actual photo print check monitor. I will check the actual print, which I just printed at this point in time.
All right, if necessary, we can have the witness actually draw on the photograph. Do you have a black marker,
Yes, Your Honor.
if necessary? Mr. Fairtlow, will a black marker write on one of those printouts?
This particular one will, Your Honor. It's a Sharpie type that will actually mark on the photograph.
Great, thank you.
May I proceed?
You may. Ms.
Now,
Clark.
I'm sorry. What were you able to see when the flashlight was shined on the victims?
I saw a female victim lying in a pool of blood. She appeared to be wearing a black dress.
What else could you see?
On the other side of her, I saw the male victim, and it appeared to me that the male victim was not completely lying down. He appeared to be in a semi-seating, slumped type of a position.
Yes.
Please.
And do you recognize what's shown there, sir?
Yes, I do.
And is that the male victim you just described?
Yes, it is.
And is that the position in which you saw him?
That's correct, yes.
All right, which exhibit is this?
This is 43A. E.
43B.
P59. Again, each of the officers.
All right.
And can you see anything else that was visible to you at approximately 1:30 a.m. on June the 13th?
I remember seeing a white envelope, or at least a light-colored envelope, and a dark knit cap, and I saw a black glove.
I'm sorry?
I saw a black glove.
Glove?
Yes.
Did it appear to be leather?
Yes, it did.
Can you give me a close-up of that?
Your Honor, P56H.
56H.
P55.
All right, P55.
People's next in order, Your Honor. P60?
All right, people 60.
Thank you. Do you see what's being pointed to in that photograph, sir?
Yes, I can.
Do you recall seeing that at 1:30 a.m. on the early morning hours of June the 13th?
Yes, I do.
Is that the glove you've just described?
Yes, yes, it is.
And the cap you've just described?
Pardon?
And the cap?
Yes, the cap also, yes.
Again, the feed will need to be cut for these images. P43C.
Cut the feed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Back up.
43B.
Okay, showing you these photographs here, sir, 43B and C. You were able to see them?
Yes, I am.
All right. You see the walkway?
Yes.
And that walkway, is that the walkway that goes from the sidewalk to the front steps of the condominium at 875 South Bundy?
Yes, it is.
And do you recall seeing it in that condition?
Yes, I do.
Did you look at it as when you first arrived at the location?
Yes, I did.
Can you describe what you saw?
There was a lot of blood there, and in with the blood there was a lot of dog paws.
Dog paws?
Prints.
Paw prints?
Yes.
Did you see any shoe prints on that walkway?
No, I didn't.
Cut, cut. Thank you. After you made the observations that you've just described to us, sir, what did you do next?
I then asked Sergeant Marty Kuhn and Officer Risky to escort me around to the rear of the location so I could preview that. And they did. We walked on the sidewalk, on the Bundy sidewalk. We walked southbound to Dorothy, and then we walked westbound Dorothy to the alleyway.
As you walked southbound on Bundy towards Dorothy, did you notice anything unusual on the sidewalk?
Again, there were a lot of dog paw prints going in that direction.
Bloody paw prints?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was going south on Bundy around to Dorothy?
That's correct. They continued on westbound on Dorothy for probably halfway between Bundy and the alleyway where they faded out.
See any bloody shoe prints going southbound on Bundy?
No, I didn't.
And where did you say that the bloody paw prints faded out?
About halfway between the alleyway and the Bundy sidewalk.
On Dorothy?
On Dorothy, on the sidewalk of Dorothy, yes.
Where did you go when you went westbound on Dorothy?
To the alleyway, and we made a right-hand turn and proceeded to walk northbound in the alleyway to the rear of 875 Bundy.
This is P48H.
When you got to the rear driveway, sir, was something pointed out to you?
Yes.
What was that?
There was a Jeep parked in the driveway. I observed a white-colored sports car in the open garage. And as I rounded the Jeep, went to the north side of the Jeep, I was shown some change on the ground, and there was also some droplets of blood.
And looking at the photographs, photograph now up, can you tell us if you, can we get a close-up of the blood drop? Okay. And does that, looking at those photographs, or does that appear to be the blood drop and the change that you've just described seeing in the rear driveway?
That appears to be, yes.
All right, what photos were those, Ms. Clark?
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
I'll go through this again. Change is P48,
And that's P48?
P48J and K, and then blood drop is P48 I, which is the correct code.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Now, was there a rear gate that you approached in that location, sir?
Yes, there was.
And did you go through that rear gate?
The gate was open, and Officer Risky and I walked down that pathway that borders the north side of the condominium.
This is P53A. P53B. P53C. P53D. P53E. And P53F.
Okay. Go back to the last one.
P53E.
Thanks. Seen those photographs, sir?
Yes,
First of all, the location shown in these photographs, this last series you've been shown, is that the rear gate you've described?
that appears to be the rear gate, yes.
And do you recall seeing blood on the gate at the lower rung where it was shown in these photographs?
Yes, I do.
Now, you went through that rear gate that's shown here,
Yes,
and from this vantage point shown in this photograph, you're standing outside the rear gate.
that's correct.
Okay, you went through that gate with Officer Risky,
Yes, I did.
and where did you walk?
We walked approximately halfway towards the front of the condominium, at which time I observed some what appeared to be bloody shoe sole prints on the ground, on the concrete.
So, and which direction were those shoe prints going, sir?
They were going towards the rear of the condominium.
Going from, in a direction that would be from where the victims lay out towards the rear gate?
That's correct.
And you didn't see any of those until you got halfway down.
That's right.
So they faded out halfway away from the victims.
Yes, I did.
When you saw those bloody shoe prints, what did you do next?
I stopped and informed Officer Risky that I didn't want to go any farther. And we turned around and walked back out to the rear of the complex.
Now, when you did that, did you take care to avoid the blood that you saw in the driveway and the change?
Objection leading.
Overruled.
Absolutely.
And then where did you go?
We then returned to the front of the condo on Bundy.
When you got to the front of the condo on Bundy, what did you see? Did you see that dog, by the way?
Yes, I saw the dog.
Where was it when you came back
When I
out?
came back out, it had been secured by its leash to a pole on the other side of the street.
And then did you stay out in front of the condominium or in the intersection?
I remained out there until the detectives arrived. That's correct.
And where is out there exactly?
In the street, close to the intersection of Dorothy and Bundy. In Bundy, actually, though.
Okay.
On Bundy, yes.
Now, were there officers guarding the crime scene tape, preventing people from coming in,
Yes, there were.
in front and in the rear?
Front and rear. Yes.
And which detectives arrived first?
Detective Ron Phillips and Mark Furman arrived first.
Were they together?
Yes, they were.
Where did you first make contact with them?
They walked over to me where I was standing on Bundy.
And were they on foot?
They had parked their vehicle on Dorothy, and they had walked over to me on foot, yes.
And where on Dorothy was that? Was that east or west of the intersection with Bundy,
Where was what?
where they parked?
Where they parked? They parked their vehicle heading eastbound on Dorothy, just east of Bundy.
So be east of the intersection of Dorothy and Bundy.
That's correct.
And you met them out there in the street?
Yes.
Did you talk to them?
Yes, I did.
What'd you tell them?
I told them what we had there in regard to the two victims, and I told them that we had the crime scene secured, and that the only people, after I had responded, after I had arrived, the only people that were inside the banner tape were myself and Officer Risky and Sergeant Marty Kuhn. And I told him that we had gone around to the back after we had viewed the victims, and I told him what I had observed in the rear of the location, and I had mentioned also the dog paw prints that I had seen on Bundy and on Dorothy.
Now, you had officers that were securing the crime scene, making sure people don't go inside the tape, right?
That's correct.
Was that all they were doing? Or were there officers out doing other things as well?
I had at least 2 officers, and Sergeant Marty Kuhn told me this because I asked him if anybody was checking the neighborhood for possible witnesses, and he told me that he had, as I recall, at least 1 team. There were 2 officers doing that, going from door to door and inquiring as to if there were any witnesses and taking information down on field interview cards.
All right, and after you spoke to Detective Phillips and Detective Furman, told them what you'd seen and what you had there, what happened next?
We then walked towards the victim, taking the same route that I had taken when I had first observed them, up the left side of the female victim in the grassy area of the front of the condominium. However, at this point, I decided to remain on the sidewalk because there were more people now and there was no reason for me to proceed. I allowed Sergeant Marty Kuhn and Officer Risky to point out the victims to the 2 detectives, and I remained on the sidewalk in front.
Now, when they walked up to look at the victims, what route did they take?
They took the same route that I had earlier.
You mean by walking on the grass and on the bushes?
That's correct.
Did anyone walk up that walkway while you were there?
Do you mean the walkway in front of the...
In front, right. The walkway leading from the sidewalk to the front steps to the body of Nicole Simpson. Did you see anyone walk on that walkway?
No one walked on that walkway while I was there.
All right, now, so you saw Detective Phillips and Furman and Officer Risky showing them the crime scene out in front of the condominium, the bodies of Nicole Brown and Ron Goldman.
Yes.
What happened next?
They then walked back down to where I was standing on the sidewalk, and they wanted to go around to the rear. So again, we proceeded in the same route that I had taken, southbound on Bundy and then westbound on the sidewalk of Dorothy.
And who took that route around to the back of the condominium, southbound on Bundy and west on Dorothy?
It was myself, it was the 2 detectives, and Sergeant Marty Kuhn and Officer Risky.
You all walked together?
Pretty much so, yes.
Where did you go?
What route again? Southbound on the Bundy sidewalk to the westbound Dorothy sidewalk.
And did you go up that alley again?
And then again up the same route in the alley, yes.
And did you all go back to that rear driveway area?
Yes, we did.
And was the evidence of the loose change and the blood drops pointed out again?
Yes.
See anybody step in any of that?
No.
Then what happened?
Then I told Detective Phillips that I had observed some shoe prints in the walkway, and he asked me to walk him up there through that area and show him, which I did.
So you took Detective Phillips through that rear gate and down the walkway again?
Yes, I did.
And you took him up to the bloody shoe prints that you saw?
That's correct.
And then stopped?
And then stopped, yes.
What happened to Detective Furman and Officer Risky?
They remained at the rear of the complex, around the alleyway, around the garage.
And was there anybody else back there with them?
There was Officer Terrazas, who was on a fixed post there for security.
And what about Sergeant Marty Kuhn?
Yes.
Where was he?
Yes, he was there also. And
In the rear?
In the rear. So was Officer Risky.
So all 4 of them stayed back there while you took Detective Phillips halfway down the walkway?
Yes.
And when you got up to the point of the last bloody shoe prints on the path, you did what?
I pointed them out to Detective Phillips, and then we returned to the back of the the condominium.
Okay, and then what happened?
I remember Detective Phillips making a phone call or two on his cellular phone. I believe he called robbery homicide. But a short while later, we went ahead and, well, correction, let me back up a second. They being the two detectives and Officer Risky were talking about the inside of the house. And the two detectives had not been inside yet, and Risky had earlier. So they asked Risky to walk them through the inside of the location. And they did, and I remained out in the behind.
Okay, so did Officer Risky, how did he take the detectives into the condominium?
Through the garage.
Now, why was it important for these detectives to see the inside of the condominium?
Because it's an extension of the crime scene,
Or could be?
or could be, yes.
And at that point, were Detective Phillips and Furman in charge of this case?
Yes, they were.
So, are you familiar with the duties of a detective in charge of a homicide case?
Basically, I've never been a detective, but I've been on many of these crime scenes.
So is it their job to examine all of the evidence and examine all of the crime scene to see what there is there?
Objection.
Sustained.
What is their duty with respect to the examination of evidence at the crime scene?
They have to tour as much of the crime scene as they possibly can to get an overview of the entire situation.
So Officer Risky took Detective Phillips and Furman into the condominium?
That's correct.
Where did you go?
I stayed in the alleyway.
At the rear of the condominium?
Yes, at the rear.
And at some point, did you see them come back out
Yes, I did.
all together?
All together.
And how did they exit?
The same way they went in, through the rear.
Through the garage?
Through the garage, yes.
Now, while you were staying out there, before they came back out, did you happen to notice any cars? You noticed the Jeep in the driveway, I think you indicated?
Yes.
Did you notice whether any of the doors seemed to be open?
I remember seeing the passenger door, the front passenger door of the Jeep ajar.
Was it standing open? I mean, wide open?
No, it wasn't wide open. It was maybe 3 inches.
Now, after Detective Phillips and Furman and Officer Risky all came out of the condominium through the garage, what happened next?
At that point, that's when I had a conversation with Detective Phillips. I told him that when I had spoke to Deputy Chief Frankel, Chief Frankel informed me that if it was determined that the victim was in fact Nicole Brown Simpson, that he wanted Detective Phillips to notify a robbery homicide.
And so did Detective Phillips make that call?
Yes, he did. I remember him talking to robbery homicide on his cellular phone.
Now, you indicated that you had left a message for Lieutenant Spangler.
Yes, I did.
Okay, and he's higher ranking than the detectives, right?
That's correct.
And did you see him arrive at some point?
While we were still at the rear of the location, Lieutenant Spangler walked up. He came from the Dorothy sidewalk and was walking northbound in the alleyway towards us. And he walked up to the two detectives, and they engaged in conversation. At that point, Detective Phillips gave Lieutenant Spangler a rundown of what we had seen and what we had been doing.
And did Lieutenant Spangler then walk down the walkway and look at the bloody shoe prints or
Oh, no.
approach the bodies of the victims?
No, he didn't do that.
Why not?
I think he accepted the explanation from both the detectives, and
I don't believe this witness should speculate what's in the
Sustained.
mind of the lieutenant.
Sustained.
After Lieutenant Spangler made contact with you all in the rear of the condominium, what did you do?
shortly thereafter we returned to the area of Bundy and Dorothy.
All of you?
Yes, at that point, all of us walked there, yes.
Okay. What about Officer Risky? Did he come back also?
Yes, he did.
And Detective Furman and Detective Phillips also?
That's correct.
And then Lieutenant Spangler was in front as well?
He came back around the front with us, yes.
Did you remain out in front at that point, sir?
Yes, I did.
And what did you do? When I say out front, can you tell us where that is approximately?
In the street, on Bundy, just north of Dorothy.
P51.
Again, when you said the intersection of Dorothy and Bundy, that you met them in the street, you stood out in the street there, is that the approximate location shown where the gentlemen are standing in the photograph now before you?
Yes, it is.
Now, is Dorothy the street that is in the bottom portion of this photograph?
Yes,
Okay, and then it intersects and Bundy is the street that you see the brown car parked on?
that's right.
And the brown car would be facing in a northbound direction then?
That's correct.
And this blue car in the foreground would be facing in a eastbound direction on Dorothy?
That's correct.
What did you do as you stood out in front there at the intersection of Dorothy and Bundy?
I told the two detectives that I would make myself available, I would stay there, and if they needed me to do anything, to get a hold of me. My captain arrived right around that same time. Constance Dial showed up.
And did you speak to her?
I did, yes. I told her what we had been doing up to this point. And the detectives went about doing something, but I lost sight of them because I was talking with Captain Dial.
Okay. And is she your boss?
Yes, she is.
You were standing with her in the intersection.
That's correct.
Did you see any other detective arrive?
Not too long after that, I remember Detective Van Adder arriving.
And what did you see him do?
He approached Detective Phillips and Detective Furman.
And
They
who-
engaged in conversation.
Where?
The detectives, Phillips and Furman, had returned to where I was on Bundy and Dorothy, and that's where they spoke with Detective Van Adder.
Out in that same intersection then?
Yes.
And then what did you see them do after they spoke?
I remember just a few minutes later, they went ahead and approached the immediate crime scene again, where the victims were.
And who was it that you saw approach the crime scene at that point?
It was Detective Phillips and Detective Furman and Van Adder.
The three of them.
Yes.
Did you see what route they took?
They went the same route that they had taken, that I had taken earlier.
And by that you mean what?
To the left of the female victim, up through the grass and the foliage area, up to the fence.
So that'd be to the left of the walkway.
To the left of the walkway, correct.
Now that grassy area you're talking about, is that a flat and level area, sir?
No, you have to walk up it. It goes up and it's kind of tiered.
So it's kind of up a little incline?
Exactly.
And you saw them take that same path?
Yes, they did.
Did you see anybody shining a flashlight on the crime scene area around the victims?
They were using flashlights, yes.
And then did you see them leave that area by the same route, walking back through the grass?
Yes, I did.
At some point, did you see the three of them walk towards the rear alley?
I don't remember them walking towards the rear.
Do you remember seeing them come out onto the sidewalk of Bundy?
Yes.
Did you ever see them then proceed down Dorothy towards the rear alley area of the condominium?
I remember them walking that way, yes.
Now, at what point did you leave that scene, sir?
I believe I left right around 04:10, 04:15, around that time.
4:10 to 4:15 a.m.?
Right, I discussed it with Captain Dial, and I told her that it doesn't appear that I am needed here anymore, and that I would leave as many police officers there as the detective wished. And she said, fine. I told her I had some work piling up at the station, so I discussed it with Detective Furman and let him know that I was going to be leaving. And I told him he could use as many of the police officers that were there. And at that point I left.
Now, was that part of your duties as well to determine how many police officers would be assigned to assist in the investigation of a crime scene?
No, that's not my job, but I just told Detective Furman that whatever we had were available to him, whatever he needed. Of course, we still have a patrol division to run and radio calls coming in, so I was discussing it with him and was wondering if there were any people he could kick loose so I could use them for patrol functions.
Now, when you left at approximately 4:10 to 4:15 a.m., was Lieutenant Spangler still there?
Yes, he was.
About what time did you get back to the station, sir?
Got back to the station right around 5 o'clock. I had stopped and picked up something to eat and brought it back to the police station.
Shortly after you got back, did you get a phone call from Detective Phillips?
Yes, I did, shortly after 5 o'clock.
Did he make some request of you?
He asked me to call West Tech Security, and he asked me to inquire